This podcast is intended for mature audiences only. We explore topics surrounding sexuality, intimate relationships, and related subjects in an open and candid manner. Please be advised that we are not licensed marriage or sex therapists, and the content shared here is for entertainment and informational purposes only. If you are under 18 years of age or prefer not to engage with discussions about sex, relationships, or mature language, we strongly recommend that you refrain from listening further. However, if you are of legal age and comfortable with this content, we invite you to settle in and enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Beyond Monogamy. I'm Adam.
And I'm Pris.
And today we are actually broadcasting from the area of Chicago. It's very different for us. We decided to take a nice little trip out here and spend some time with some friends and some family. And we actually have joining us, it's very different from what we usually have. We have joining us a good friend of mine from all the way from middle school, actually, but pretty much my best friend throughout high school. His name is Jeremy, and we figured it would be a lot of fun to have a discussion. We really haven't talked about our lifestyle with him, and it would be a lot of fun to discuss kind of where we were in the process of catching up, and it's like, well, let's do this on the
Have some
show. Why
fun.
not? Yeah, let's
Yeah.
have some fun. So with that, I'd like to introduce a good friend of mine, Jeremy.
Welcome.
Welcome to the show.
Well, hello. Well, thank you for having me.
Yes.
And it's I'm very excited.
Now,
This
no
is great.
blushing,
No
Jeremy,
blushing.
because I understand, you do know very briefly, I think I might have thrown it at you like a bag of bricks the other day where I texted you and I said, well, we're swingers.
Yeah, you surprised me.
Yeah, I really threw that one out. Now, we go very way back, and everything that we've been through as far as high school and stuff. You remember those days
Oh, I remember.
relatively well. So now, when I threw that at you, as far as us being swingers, what was your initial reaction?
Well, first I was really surprised because I've always seen you as such a family man. And so,
Yeah.
you see Facebook, but we don't talk every day.
Right.
We kept in touch over social media. We've had occasional conversations, but we haven't really gotten into your personal life.
Right.
Like the day to day.
Yeah.
So when you said that,
The day
I
to day.
I thought that was very progressive. And yeah, it just shocked me because I just didn't know you that way growing up. But maybe you didn't discover this till later in life.
It was, yeah, it was a lot later in life. Now, I will tell you, and I've said this on the show a few times, I did notice when I was in high school, I didn't realize there was a name for it, but I always felt like there was something wrong with me because I would be in a relationship and I would want to be with others while in that relationship.
Yeah.
So I just felt like there was something wrong with me. I was like, why can't I just focus on this one person and this and that? Now, just kind of catch you up. So we've been together. We're going on 15 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. This
Damn.
this coming
That's
year,
impressive.
That's a long time.
we'll have our 15-year anniversary in at the end of this.
October,
Yeah,
November?
the latter quarter of this year. I don't know. It's been a nice vacation. I don't feel like turning on my brain for that, but we've been together for about 15 years and we've been in the lifestyle for about 14 years.
Yeah.
So we've been doing this for a while. Chris was actually doing it before I was in her
And I
previous relationship.
drugged him in.
Yeah. Well, because she likes women.
Yeah.
So that's
So-
really what spurned this
And
for us.
I came out as bisexual. I was always sexual, but nobody knew. And then when I got with Adam, I explained that to him. And he was like, great, let's do this. And so it took about a year because I was very protective and territorial and jealous. And after little steps, I was like, all right, let's do this now. So he lets me just be as free as I want to be.
Yeah. And it's but it's been a progression. So when we first started, it wasn't like that. It was very, I don't know, she dealt with
I
jealousy
love your
issues.
face.
Because I'm imagining like you all first meeting
Okay.
and then having the conversation because you both were married prior.
Yes.
Yeah.
Relationships prior.
Yes.
So there's that dynamic. But then
Yeah.
to meet together and only be together for a year, like how do you go from that
To
to being together
this.
a year and having such a monumental conversation so
Yeah.
soon? And there's family dynamics at play. I mean, that's a
Yes.
big conversation to have.
It-
Yeah.
So what I'm actually intrigued about is like, how'd you get to that conversation?
So I can tell you
like,
exactly
Oh
how
my
it
God,
happened.
he
Yeah.
knows
Yeah,
exactly
I
like
can tell you exactly how it happened
okay,
because it was actually very early on.
okay.
So we were still dating. We had only been together, maybe a month. And I am very big into open communication. And I made that real clear when we first started dating. I was like, look, I know the mistakes that I made with my last relationship. The communication sucked. I said, I don't want to do that this time around. So, I was very open with that. We talked about fantasies and whatnot. And then she told me that she was into girls
Mhm.
and her past relationships or her last relationship before me, that they used to play with other people so that she could have her experiences with girls. And I was immediately turned on. I was like, "Oh,
He was like, "Okay."
okay."
I mean,
So this I
check
yeah,
fantasy.
this
Right.
went
What
from
guy
this
doesn't
went
want
from Mister Rogers to, HBO Real Sex like that, It was just a snap of a finger. And so I was very intrigued. I had just come from a relationship where we had sex about as often as we had kids. So
Wow.
that tells you everything right
Mhm.
there. And I have a very high sex drive. I've always had a very high sex drive. And so I was real big into, when we first started dating, one of the things she asked me was just like, "You're not one of those guys who likes to have sex all the time, are
'Cause
you?"
I was in that kind of sort of relationship also, but I was already good with not giving it up. I was like, "Fine, you don't want it? I'm cool. I'm
Yeah.
good."
And I'm
You
just
know?
like, "Yeah, I like sex often, and I hope that's not an
I was
issue."
like, "Damn.
And so when we started dating, she realized that the sex was good, then she was like, "Okay,
Okay."
that's
Oh,
cool."
don't be shy now.
Hey, 2025 is, confident
Confident
Adam.
There
Adam.
you go.
I'm just gonna throw that out there. But, yeah, so she initially told me about her experiences, and I was very intrigued, and I said, I have always known what a swinger was because my father used to want to explore that. Like, he had a bunch of penthouses and he had a bunch like, I think I explained it on a past show once, but he had a bunch of reading material that alluded to him wanting to be a swinger. And even my mother had admitted that that was something that he had asked, and she was like, "No, I don't wanna do that." But I believe he was a swinger in his past relationship before my mother. So, I was already familiar with the term, I understood it, but I didn't think that that was a thing. My father was cheating on my mother we all kinda knew it, even my mother,
Mhm.
and I guess when we got together, I was like, "I don't wanna feel like we're cheating," and I said, "If this is something that we can do in the open, and we can be, communicating about it and things like that, and I think it can be okay,"
Well, I have a question for you.
by
So
all
what are
means.
the so from the conversation you had, what about the boundaries? Like at what point what are the boundaries just flat out? There
So, in the
Things have
beginning
changed.
yeah,
Yeah.
communication's key,
Right.
yeah,
where to start in the beginning versus
Right.
yeah,
where it is now.
Yeah.
Because you said you've been swingers for 14 years
yeah.
essentially
Yeah.
at this point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's a long I don't know how many situations you've been in.
Well,
Yeah,
it's been gradual.
Okay, well,
it
It's
answer
has.
that, and then I have
and see
another question.
because there's
So
the family dynamic of it all. So we
yeah,
had to it was really not we were not immersed in it as we are now because our kids were young.
Mhm.
And so that was really our priority was raising our
mhm.
kids and raising them happy and healthy. And if we had some extra time to break away and we had a babysitter, we would go do our thing. So in the beginning, it was kind of light.
There were lots of rules,
Oh, yeah.
lots of boundaries, lots of rules. There's different aspects of swinging. You can do same room, there's different, like, same roof, different rooms, there's
Yes, these are things I don't
so
know. This
okay,
is
so
what
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is
So
what I
there's
wanna
there
know.
are
there's
so
a lot
many
of different
so
dynamics
Okay.
to it.
some couples only play together, so they won't do a full swap, so, like, they won't swap partners at all.
Okay.
They'll just, like, wanna be in the same room. There's some that swap fully, so he'll get the wife, I'll get the husband, or I'll get the wife and the husband, stuff like that.
Yeah, it really depends
Um,
on
on what
if there's bisexual
yeah.
elements
I
added
wanted to
to it.
ask about
Yeah,
that
so
too, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
how do you define between swinger,
yeah,
bisexual, gay, all
so
that?
Yeah.
I'm a bisexual swinger. I can get with the guys, and I can also be with the girls. Adam is straight.
I am straight, but
He doesn't
I'm
care.
comfortable, I'm not like there are some guys that are very scared to have guy on guy contact and that sort of thing, and I've always been
Yeah,
very secure in myself, so it's like, I don't care.
yeah, and there's a lot of bisexual men in the lifestyle. So there was a lot of, we're only going to do it in the same room.
Yeah, so
There
she
was
was
no
very
kissing at some
protective.
point.
Yeah,
I was very protective, very
yeah, she was
jealous.
very protective, very jealous, and
Hmm.
I am the opposite. I'm not
Yeah.
jealous.
And so we
Through
started very little,
Yeah.
you know, okay, let's try a girl together. So we did, and let's try a guy. Okay, how did that feel? How did you like it? We
Yeah, and that
okay.
was really our first experience. So when we decided that we were gonna give this a try, I said, "I have to see how I'm gonna feel about this because 'cause I've never done this before." She had done it prior.
Hmm.
So we invited a guy over and to be with her, and
Mhm.
I sat back and I watched, and then at some point I joined in, and we, finished off the night, and I so when it happened, it's something so different from what we're used to
Mhm.
that it's an uncomfortable feeling.
Hmm.
And I liken it to, like, butterflies in the stomach. It's that uncomfortable feeling, like, it could be a bad uncomfortable or it could be a good uncomfortable. Just depends on how you're thinking about it, right?
Hmm.
So if I'm in a bad mood or I'm not feeling it and I get that feeling, it's gonna be a bad feeling, like, it's not gonna go well. If I get that feeling and I'm, like, into it, it's gonna be a good experience, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kinda where I realized what that feeling was, and I was like, "Okay, I kinda liked it, like, this was cool." Like, I was married
Okay.
to a porn star for one thing, and that was kinda what I got out of it initially, was I got front row seats to watch my wife, who I think is, like, the sexiest woman in the world, do this, like, porn star, show for
Hmm.
me. And I get to watch her with somebody else, and not to mention, when you really love somebody, you want them to have a good experience, you want them to be satisfied because I know she ain't gonna leave me.
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
think that's what everyone thinks, that are you are you happy? Are you doing this because you're unsatisfied? Are you happy in your marriage, or is there something going on that you're just not completely satisfied? Because that's the first thing that people think. And it's not like that at all. It's just the
It's the sexual freedom of it. It's
yeah,
more so but there's so many other elements to it, and I'm gonna get to
so
that.
many.
Hmm.
Because when we started, there was a lot of rules,
Yeah.
and she was very protective of me doing other things with other people, and, it was a lot for her to process. It was less for me to process because I'm not a jealous
Mm.
person, and so it was more just like, "Oh, this is a new experience. Oh, this is a new experience. Okay, this is how I feel about that. Okay, I don't really care for this, so I know not to do this again,"
And there was a lot of talks. There was, we don't argue, we just have really long discussions sometimes.
Yeah, we process a lot of stuff.
I process things very differently than Adam does.
Hmm.
It takes me longer. I'm a little passive aggressive sometimes. So,
Yeah,
things like that were where the communication really had the patience for him and the communication on my end. So
and we come from this from different reasons. So I've always said that oftentimes when people are in ethical non-monogamy, and not even just the sexual aspect, but there's, like, the polyamorous aspect where you
mhm,
can date others, and we did that for about 5 years as well. Most people that go into ethical non-monogamy come from some sort of trauma. Whatever it can be. I've noticed this. I've done a lot of trauma bonding with a lot of people in the lifestyle. And so for me, for example, the reason why I'm not jealous, the reason why I do so well with this dynamic is because of a couple of reasons. One, I grew up knowing that my father was cheating on my mother and seeing how that affected their relationship and all that sort of stuff. It was not a good situation growing up seeing that. The other thing was I came out of an abusive household. So I really had to work to try and get somebody to tell me that they loved me, right? And so for years, including my ex-wife, like I just never felt genuine love from anybody before until I got with Priscilla. And then when we got together, I realized just how loyal and loving she is to me and that sort of thing. And I've told her before, I said, it's almost like I'm sending you off to have fun with somebody else. And there's a good chance that they may be able to satisfy you and it's great and everything. You still come back to me. Like,
yeah.
that's to me like the ultimate love. Like, you can experience whatever you want. And on a shallow level, it can be an incredible experience. and you're still going to come back to me because no matter what,
The
there's no
connection,
replicating
yeah, the
this.
connection we
You
have.
know what I mean?
So, yeah.
So it really kind of changes things on our romantic level that you wouldn't think it would, but it's brought us closer together in that way.
Okay. What do you have? Do you think in that dynamic, do you guys consider it performative or intimate, or can it be both?
It can be both. I I'm probably the more performative of it because I know he's watching,
Okay.
and so I go the extra mile and kind of make eye contact with him, and I know he's watching, so I'm gonna do something even hotter. So, yeah, that comes into play for me. For
Yeah.
him, he
It's
really
both for
stays
me, but well,
you stay focused more on the person
I
with
do.
you.
So I enjoy it's more intimate for me. I like that connection between me and the other person. So I can't have stranger sex, if that makes sense. I don't do one night stands. If I'm gonna hook up with somebody, it's somebody I've been talking to for a little while, like we've hung out a couple
Yeah,
times. I know
and
that I like them
I'm very
so
different.
that we can have sex and I can enjoy it,
Yeah, he
you know?
likes a connection, and I would be called a transactional person. If I meet you and I like your vibe, cool, alright. Do you wanna go hook up?
Yeah.
I'm that person,
And she's always been that
and I've always
before me
yeah,
even.
it's just easier for me. I was actually only in this for women because I was a man hater.
Okay.
Now, the men that we hang out with, the people, the community that we have, they're really good men. So I'm like, "Okay, they're sexy too." So, I've opened up that part. But yeah, it's kinda transactional on my end. Alright,
Yeah. So it's more intimate for me.
yeah.
It's more show for her. Now I do
That's funny, right?
Yeah.
we like to do the show. Don't
Yeah,
get me wrong. We are
yeah.
exhibitionists. So like we have a membership to a certain sex club down in San Antonio and we're an hour away from it.
That's performative.
And we
Okay.
go there.
Okay.
We go there and from I think they open at 9, we get there right at when they open. And we're back there every 30 minutes in the beds in front of everybody
In the middle.
in the middle
Yeah.
and everybody has kind of gotten used to us being back there and putting on a show. Like it's people enjoy it. And it heats them up and they get all hot and bothered and then they jump into a cubby and they start playing and like it's a thing.
It's
Does this ever get into like BDSM or anything like that?
yes,
So
Okay.
there
Does
are
it?
so not for us,
Okay.
but yes, there's
but
different kinks.
there are different kinks in the world in this specific world. So there's different aspects of ethical non-monogamy. It's kind of the umbrella term, but it can go in different ways. We celebrate more of the sexual freedom portion of it. There are people that go in who feel that you can date and have several relationships with several different people, and that's more like polyamory. And then there are people that explore the kink world of it and only the kink world of it. And that's like BDSM. You know, there's,
Dominatrix, is that the same thing?
yeah, pretty much. There's different volumes of BDSM. Now, I'm not an expert on that. We plan on talking to people about that because we've never really been too involved in that.
I don't like pain.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not
I'm not a,
and
you
he's
know,
not really a pain giver
no.
or and he doesn't like
So
pain, so
I'm a pleaser. So
yeah.
I get my rocks off from pleasing the person that I'm with.
Mhm.
And if I can do that, then that's my everything. But there are people out there that they enjoy inflicting pain,
Yeah.
you know, that sort of thing.
So when you guys go out as a couple and you meet somebody that maybe you're interested, like, how do you know? Because I think what's also intriguing me about this is like I'm coming to this as a gay man,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know, from a gay perspective.
sure.
Like,
Yeah.
and then like if you don't mind me sharing, like here in
No.
Chicago, you
No.
know, there's sex clubs here, but they're for gay men. You know, there's the
Yeah.
bathhouse. There's literally two clubs. They have there's a sex room in the back, or there's a dungeon. You know, but
And
just
And so
it's only for gay
no,
men.
this is what I was going to say. No, just very recently, probably after the pandemic,
Mhm.
now couples are coming in.
really,
And so for some of the gay community, it's been really hard for them to accept that now they go into their safe space that where
and
they went to have
there's
sex and now
yeah,
there's straight couples down there. And it's been interesting in the community to see that shift because where you have a bar that was specifically geared toward, you know, gay men, and
Mhm.
we're talking maybe an older generation like that from the 1980s or maybe even earlier, you know, that had that specific
Mhm.
thing. This was their space. There are some people that have felt like it's been kind of a takeover or
Wow.
infringing on their safe space. And it's like, why don't these couples have a space of their own? But the reality is there's not, here in Chicago anyway, in my experience, there's
Wow.
not a lot of places for straight couples to go.
Really?
Yeah. Or,
Right.
people are in this arrangement. I'm
Huh.
sure they exist. I'm just not part of the
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
Right.
It's, yeah, no, you guys are opening my eyes. I've seen it play out. I've just never spoken to anybody
Mhm.
about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was in a car one time with a friend and my friend hit on this couple and all of a sudden we had this couple that was with us, a husband and wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're going where? And we were going to the normal gay club we go to.
Yeah.
And I freaked out. I had to get out. They went
Yeah.
on in and they did their thing. I heard about it after the fact, but I was
Yeah.
like, can we have a conversation about
Yeah.
this? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's really weird for us initially because I had a lot of anxiety. I had a lot of trepidation going into it. And it's funny that you mentioned the pandemic. A lot changed in the community
Mhm.
when the pandemic hit. It seemed like there was this explosion of swingers that came out. It was almost like it was accepted. Everybody stayed home during the pandemic. They all got on social media. They got all on TikTok and they found these different
Swing
people.
talks and
Yeah. And then they listen to these podcasts like these and they go,
yeah.
huh, okay, we can give that a shot. And I feel like it really exploded after the pandemic. Like
Yeah.
there was just a large amount of
But
people.
your question was mainly how did it all like how do we
yeah,
find
how do you find somebody? How do you
yeah.
negotiate
So
that? How do
because
do you both have to like the person or one of you
So
can be
we that
into
was a
that
part of our
so
person?
that
journey.
is
That
so
was a
yeah.
part of our journey. That had changed.
Adam and so the way we say things is because we are okay with it. Some people do not, but I allow Adam to explore whoever he wants. So if he finds a woman that he's interested in, we do like to play together.
And that's preferred.
That's preferred, but some people don't. Some women only want to be with him. There's some women that only want to be with me, couples that only want to be with me, or couples that are just looking for a guy and they're like, "Oh, well, my wife likes you, Adam. So like, do you want to join?" Things like that. Our only like rule there is they have to be respectful of me and of him, of our relationship. I don't necessarily have to like the person because I'm just that person, but I do have to at least be respected and stuff like that. Like,
Now that's changed throughout the years.
yes,
That's something
that was
that she's
not,
at now,
yeah, it was,
but that's taken a while to get there. So that we've gone from where when we first started, I couldn't talk to anybody. She had to be the one who was talking to the couple to,
yeah,
do that whole thing. And then eventually it was like, okay, we were doing group chats. Well, then eventually she realized that me and other people wanted to talk one on one. She didn't care for that, but then eventually she took to okay to that.
yeah. Because
Um,
we're open and communicating. So like,
yeah, we don't hide anything.
if I feel like if I'm getting insecure or something, I can always like he'll share his phone and stuff like
Yeah.
we don't hide it. So if I'm feeling that way, I'm like, oh, okay, all right, it's all good, we're fine. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and we talk through any issues that we have. So, say she's feeling insecure about something, or there's an issue with something that's coming up, or same thing with me. We kind of sit there and we talk about it, and it's like, well, where's that coming from? What's the root of this? Did I not? Did I say something? Did I? 'Cause everything comes all the way to one minute spot that you can pinpoint and go, well, this is where it came from.
hmm
And if this had been taken care of, if I was reassured or whatever, then it would have been okay. But instead that I didn't get that. So now I'm here and I feel this way.
there's
Okay.
a lot of reconnecting
Mhm.
Yeah.
after playing.
Yes.
So after we're doing our thing or whatever, we got to come home and we got to decompress and
Yeah.
the next couple of weeks or the next couple of days or whatever, however we feel, we just do a lot of reconnecting. It's a lot of
But it's definitely been a journey. And as far as what she accepts and what she doesn't accept, I
yeah,
go off of what she's feeling. I go off of her pace really because I've always been more advanced pace. I guess because I don't
yeah.
have jealousy issues. And so we've always kind of went by how progressive she was feeling and how onward she went. And so as time went on, she got more and more comfortable with things. Now, I will say that when the pandemic hit, we were still not as majorly spread out through the community as we would have liked. We were kind of in the back and we were kind of lurkers. We would connect with a couple every now and then. We were just not very involved. And that was because I dealt with a lot of anxiety. I didn't like being around crowds of people. I really didn't like leaving the house at all. If I knew I had to have a conversation with somebody, I'd find some reason to bail. Like oh, excuse me, I'm not feeling good. I got to go home. So I realized my anxiety since the pandemic, actually previous to that, but even more so, was getting worse and worse. And I was really struggling to socialize with people and I was feeling bad about myself. You know what I mean? So I told her one year, I said, "Hey, I need to fix this. I don't know what I need to do, but I need to fix this. The only way that I'm going to fix this is to start forcing myself to talk to other people. And the only way that I'm going to do that is to basically, we're in these different Facebook groups for the local swinging communities that we're in. And we've always just kind of been lurkers. We didn't really get involved with people. I said, I'm just going to start posting. I'm going to start posting my picture with different posts there and get people to kind of associate this with me and get used to seeing these two. And then when we go to events, people will see me, they'll want to talk to me, and I'll be forced to socialize because otherwise I'm just going to sit in the back and hold up a wall and just people watch and not talk to
We're
anybody.
people watchers, so
Yeah.
we would just be cuddled up watching everybody and
Yeah.
not and I'm shy sometimes, so it's like,
Yeah. And
I
so
don't wanna talk to anybody.
all of a sudden she's like people watching and I'm getting bombarded by people who are like, I know who you are. I saw your post, and
Yeah.
they'd start talking to me. I know that even though I have anxiety about talking to people, if I'm forced to, I will talk to them. And I won't be a dick and be like, get away. I'll actually have a conversation with them. So it was forcing myself to be more social and it actually worked. It helped me a lot over the past couple of years. And with that, it's kind of pushed us more so into the forefront of the community in our local area. And then one day we decided to start at the podcast and go from there. So, the journey has really, we've been immersed in the past few years, but prior to that, it was
Baby
not that
steps.
much. So she really had to kind of grow up in the past couple of years in this lifestyle as far as where she was at, how she was feeling, and what she can really deal with. We went from being real tight with our boundaries and, things were difficult to seemed like overnight we ended up becoming poly. And we met a couple they were swingers in the lifestyle. And one day they were telling us, and they said, well, we're polyamorous. And I said, well, what is that? Like, what is that? And they explained it to me kind of roughly. And then, of course, the nerd in me, I decided to do my research and I was like, oh, crap. So this is a whole nother form of ethical non monogamy where it's strictly several relationships. And I mean, that's poly meaning many and then amory meaning love. So many loves, essentially. You can equally love several different people, and there's different forms of polyamory. There's kitchen table polyamory, there's
It
solo
was so
polyamory.
overwhelming.
And everything's got a label.
Right.
Everything's got a label.
Everything's got a label.
Yeah. And there's different offshoots of all these different things. So we did that for 5 years. Now, understand that when we did that, we had a couple of downsides. Priscilla was just going through menopause,
Oh,
and
Mhm.
she had just moved
By myself.
by herself to the Central Texas area to set us up while I was still at home with the kids back home, you
mhm.
know? And so we would only see each other on weekends. So that was probably one of the harder times in our lives was when we were dating others and
Mhm.
she wasn't really into it. She didn't really care for it, but she was like, I'm going to give it a shot, but she didn't like it. I was actually pretty good at it.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know what that means, but
Yeah.
I was really good at it. Like I got to make some really interesting connections, and I got to date around.
And I only dated women.
Yeah,
So, that was
she
interesting. I
got
will
to.
never no, I won't say I will never. I was not in the right mind to just date women. They were very complicated. We want a lot. Like, I feel like women want more attention than the men do, relationship-wise, and that was not because I have kids and I have a husband and it didn't work. But
What happens if you all meet somebody and have you ever been in the position where you found yourself attracted to somebody more than you should have?
so we
And,
actually,
and what do you do in those circumstances? Or
No,
how do
I
you guys
mean,
work that out?
really, I mean, more than you should have is kind of an interesting phrase there because what is that
I
exactly?
don't
I
know.
mean,
But we have a girlfriend.
we do have a girlfriend actually
So we have a
together.
girlfriend together.
Yeah. Which is something I never thought I would see, even because we did polyamory for 5 years
And I
and we
hated it.
stopped. She hated it. And she wanted out, and I said, "Okay, well, we'll stop. This is not a make or break for me. I
Yeah.
can take it or leave it." And so we stopped, and we just did the sexual aspect of it,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and that was great. But for some reason, I guess she was like, things just kind of feel right with this girl,
She
and
checked. So we had a show and I was like, "Man, we're never doing poly. Like, it's just a bad thing for me. Like, I don't even like talking about it. It just brings up such, I don't know, bad times in my brain." And so we met this girl. Well, we were like, I mean, we could date somebody if they were busy all the time, if they had kids, if they understood
she made
arguing.
the whole list. Yeah.
We met somebody
Like a week
and
later, this girl was just checking boxes. Yeah.
yeah, she's super, super nice. She's busy, she has family, she does her own thing. She's doesn't bombard us, we don't bombard her. And it just felt right,
Yeah.
which is to this day still very weird for me because I don't like a lot of people. I'm very selective on who I spend my time with.
Mhm.
Even though I'm transactional, I'm really selective. Like you still have to meet certain criteria. And I'm gonna share my husband
Mhm.
and I'm gonna share my time and his time. So yeah,
So why do you not consider yourself a throuple then?
because I don't like the word.
It's a title. Okay.
It's the
It's
label
the
thing.
it's the label
So
thing.
understand
But
when we
yes, that's
first got
exactly what it is.
together
Okay.
when we first got together, I had just left my ex. Like I was literally a week out, if that, not even that,
Yeah.
and we started seeing each other. Now, when everybody that I knew that I had left. So that I was out of this first marriage. I'm done. And so there was a lot of friends that I had that were women that would be like, "Hey, come on out to this bar. We're all hanging out. Cool." And so I had just started seeing Priscilla and it was still kind of under under the carpet, we weren't telling everybody. And so I remember I was at a bar and I was there with some girlfriends, some friends that were girls, and we were all drinking and Priscilla walked in with one of her family members to meet with us, and I introduced her as my friend to all of these girls. I was like, "Oh, this is Priscilla. She's a friend of mine." And she sat there and she enjoyed the rest of the night. And then later on, or maybe it was the next day, we talked about it. She was like, "You introduced me as your friend, and I'm not just your friend."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What?" I know, but we're kind of, and so that was literally it. Was our first argument. And we don't argue very much, but
Yeah.
that was the first one that we ever really had. And I was like, I was against giving the title. I didn't wanna give out the title. Like, I just wasn't ready for that. And she was like, "Well, if you're not ready for that, then you're not ready for this," and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. And I was like,
Period.
"Son of a bitch. Alright, god dog."
Got you together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so,
Yeah.
I had to shit or get off the pot, essentially, like, I
Yeah.
had to make a decision. And so she was like, "If you're gonna give me the title if you want me to be that role." And I
Yeah.
was like, "Okay." So titles are kind of sensitive.
Okay.
And
So I had to be the first one to say we had a girlfriend. I was like, kind of
I
our
wasn't gonna
girlfriend, huh?
call it that.
And so he didn't call it that. But
Mm.
it is a throuple. I don't know. That word just sometimes gives me
She's got PTSD from
PTSD from poly.
from
I
poly.
do.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
She had to, I mean, it was the one time in our entire marriage that she ever felt like she wasn't sure if we were gonna make it.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
was like, if he really wants to be in this kind of relationship, then I'm gonna let him be, but I'm not gonna be in it.
Well, okay. I mean, we talked about how poly is like many loves, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
I believe that there's no one person for
Yeah,
there's no one forever and always for one. I think you can fall in love with people for a lot of different
yeah,
reasons. So I think that goes back to my question, like, how do could you fall in love with somebody else outside of your marriage? What would happen if you did? And have you had anything close to that to where you're like, put the brakes on it? Nope, we can't do this.
So we haven't, I wouldn't say we have had that. I think the girl that we're dating is probably the closest that we have to that, and that's because Priscilla's kind of reformed her thinking as of recently. But even when we were poly, we didn't really have that. Now we always talked about it, and this was scenarios that we've always brought up because I feel like the more we talk about it when it happens, we're prepared, you know? And so I would always tell her, look, if what if, I'm talking to somebody and we connect and things get really strong and it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well when that happens, we'll talk about it. Because
Mm,
for us, we've realized there isn't a single thing that we can't work out. Like we can sit and we can talk about it. And it's like,
We can't stop each other's feelings,
right.
right? Like,
It's one of those things you feel something for somebody, it
yeah,
is what it
and
is.
it's scary. It's scary for me because I'm like, man, I lost my first husband to a girl, and so it's like that trauma comes sometimes. Like, man, I don't want to lose him. But I'm now probably the last 2 3 years realize he's not going anywhere. I'm not
I
going
love where
anywhere.
I'm at.
Do you know what I mean?
And
Like,
that's
it's
mhm.
what
just
I had to really explain to her was like, hey, what we have with each other, I can't have this with anybody else.
Mhm.
Like there are certain intimacies that I share with her and I feel 100% vulnerable with her and I can't feel like that
I
with
mean,
everybody.
right now we can't, right? Like that's just our thing. We just maybe we don't allow each other to mentally, but you never know. It's a growing process. So like
Yeah,
this one lady that we are dating, she's pretty much on the same kind of mindset. She knows what she wants. She still dates other people.
she has
She
kids,
has
that
kids. She's
she's
busy. She's a
yeah.
mom, so it's I don't know. I don't know, like, we don't know where it's going. We like it. I like it. I'm very comfortable with her. I have no reservations. I still I'm like, is there gonna be like a red flag? Um, I communicate a lot. And if I
She's
feel
very intuitive.
yeah, and if I feel a certain way, I will tell you like how I feel and let's discuss it and let's talk about it. And this is with anybody. Like, I don't know why I'm feeling this, but this is what brought this up and let's talk. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
very interesting, right?
It's
No, it is
it's
very interesting.
yeah.
Oh wow.
And this is really why I wanted because we were gonna have this conversation one way or another, and I was like, "You know what? What better way to do it than just hit record?" Because I knew you were gonna have a lot of questions. You and I haven't talked for, I mean, we haven't talked in person in a couple of decades.
Yeah.
So it's and we were in my opinion, closest in high school. Like, we spent the night at each other's house and we spent a lot of time together. My first job was at the same place that your first job was
Oh,
at.
that's
Like, you got me
right.
into that
That's
place.
right.
You know, a lot of my high school childhood years were around you. And so I was like, this is kind of fitting because if anybody, uh, you know, you are a gay man and your lifestyle specifically, people automatically assume intersects with our lifestyle, and sometimes it can for certain people, but what I realize is that they don't they don't go hand in
They don't
hand,
go hand
like,
in hand.
they are not so I take it you are familiar with swinging with the ethical when was the first time that you would say that you kinda had your closest experience to that or seen it, not personally experienced it, but, like, seen it in front of you or had somebody talk about that sort of thing in front of you.
Ethical monogamy?
Ethical non-monogamy
This is the
or
first.
really? Or,
Yeah.
like, swinging or
Yeah.
anything like that?
I've heard swinging, but
Yeah?
I've never sat down with a couple that's done it.
Really?
I've seen it play out.
Yeah.
There was that show on TV, Swingers,
Yeah.
Right.
spouse
Yeah.
swap or
Or
Yes.
whatever.
yeah.
That's the only exposure I've probably ever
Oh,
Yeah.
had to it. So
okay.
this is very much a first
Yeah.
conversation. So I'm
And so
actually
and
blown.
what I'm fascinated about, and this is the thing that always got to me, was there are a lot of preconceived notions
Mhm.
from people who don't know really anything about it, and a lot of the judgment that we experience from society as a whole comes from people that just don't really know anything about it. And so, we that's one of the reasons why we talk on this podcast is kind of just to educate people that, it's an actual community, like,
Mhm.
of legit people. People think it's a bunch of Leisure Suit Larrys walking around hitting on people. we were talking on the way over here. We had a good conversation, and I told her, I said, it's funny because if you were to take me and stick me in a small room with a bunch of women who are not swingers, they're just monogamous, and I stand there and I just have conversation with everybody, just regular conversation, not flirty, not anything like that, just regular conversation. And I do talk about that we're swingers. You're gonna have that room clear out away from me. The women will get away from me because they'll automatically assume I'm gonna hit on them or I'm gonna try and bed them in some way. And it's not like that, but that's what they automatically assume because of the label. Now, if you take that same room and you fill it with a bunch of men who are, they don't they don't do that. They're monogamous, and maybe even some of them are married. And you put them all in that room, and you take her, and you put Pris in that room, and she has her regular, just a regular conversation, and she does the same thing and says that she's a swinger. You're gonna have almost every one of those men trying to hit on her, trying to bet her, and that's because that word carries such weight for women. If a
Mhm.
woman walks to a guy and says, "Oh yeah, we sleep with other people. I'm a swinger," then they're automatically going to assume, "Oh, she's easy. I can hit it tonight if I wanted to." You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And
Transactional.
and
Just
that's
kidding.
not that's not always the case,
Mhm.
but it's an assumption that's made.
Yeah.
A lot of women will assume because we talk openly about it sometimes when we're asked, and they'll assume that I'm friendly, and I treat everybody the same way, but maybe they'll assume that there's more to that friendly way that I speak, and it's like I make eye contact when I talk to people, and that's everybody. Like I talk to everybody the same way, but if they find out that this is the lifestyle I'm in and they don't know anything about it, they assume. And it's like, "Oh shit. Okay."
Yeah, no, when you first said it, like, I think one other thought that came to mind, I was like, "Oh my god, is Adam gay? Is he bi?"
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I've
hold
gotten that a
up.
lot. Yeah.
Like, I had
So
you that's what really kinda got me. I just didn't I didn't wanna offend you, so I was
No,
like,
no,
"Oh
no,
my
and
god."
that wouldn't offend me. I get that a lot, and a lot of people, we refer to you guys as vanillas.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to say gold star gay.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. I like
Uh,
that better.
but, in the vanilla world, the monogamous world, these preconceived notions have come up when we've talked to men. Men
They
have
would
been
love for him.
interested.
They would love for him to be gay.
So I get hit on by men quite a bit.
Okay.
And the very first time, and you're in this story.
I did not hit on you.
No, 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 no,
No.
no, I'm not you. No, but you're in this story. So, I used to wear a lot of jewelry back in high school, and I don't know if you remember, but
You
we went
gaudy.
to we went to this. I was a little bougie. I had a couple of silver rings and things like
Oh
that.
my god.
Anyways, so we, as in me and Jeremy, we went to this store in the mall,
Mhm.
and it was a jewelry store, kind of a small jewelry store. And we walked in, and there was a guy behind the counter, and he was blatantly flirting with me. Blatantly flirting with me. Now, you were not out at that time. We were just friends, and I had always known, but you had never come out.
Correct.
And we were at this store, and this guy was just flirting, and I didn't realize that he was flirting. I just thought he was real friendly. And he was like, I can clean your rings for free and this and that. And I was like, oh yeah, sure. Here. And, I took them off and I handed it to him, and he took him to the back and he starts. So then he comes back out and he's talking to me and he's like, yeah, so do you go out? Like, where's your spot and this and that? And I'm thinking in my head, I mean, I'm high school. I'm like, I don't have a spot. You know what I mean? But you didn't say anything. You just stood behind me and you watched this whole interaction. So then, anyways, we finish up. He gives me my rings, and I was like, "Well, it's nice to meet you," and we left. And literally, as soon as we walked out, you came up to me and you were like, "That guy was hitting on you?" And I said, "What?" And you said, "That guy wanted you. Like, that guy was hitting on you bad." And I said, "No, he wasn't." And you were like, "Are you're fucking with me right now, right?" I can remember this conversation like it was yesterday. And you were like, "You're joking, right?" Like, I I I could see it very clearly, and I was like, No, really?" And you're like, "Yes, that guy was hitting
Oh,
on
so
you."
he's been like that forever.
I'm
He's
very
still to this
clueless, very
very
clueless.
clueless.
Well, I was going to say, you were talking about high school and like when you were young, and it's like, what also shocked me about all this, it's like, I knew you through middle school and high school having a really hard time,
Yeah,
Yeah.
even socially. You know,
yeah,
your self esteem was not very high. You had a hard time making friends. I saw you struggle trying to get girlfriends,
yeah,
and like that's how I remember you. And it was to be your friend and to be as close as I was to you then. It it was always hard just to see you struggle that way. So now to see
right,
you older and married and with children and to overcome all that, because trauma is trauma, and kids can be
right.
cruel and people can be cruel. And so I find it very inspiring that you've had this journey and you are where you are now, and that you have this light about you that you didn't have. I mean, we all have our journeys and we all grow and mature,
Yeah.
but it really is remarkable.
It's been fun, and, I can tell you this, and this was part of what I was gonna tell you earlier, which part of what I get out of this, because some people say, "Well, what do you get out of this?" And this is something that the conversations that Pris and I will have or had often to get her to understand what I get out of this. I have to have a connection with somebody if I'm gonna sleep with them.
Mhm.
I have to know that they want me.
Mhm.
And it sometimes sounds bad, but I have to feel and know that they want me. That's the turn on. That's the kink. And what I realize is a lot of it roots back to when I was in high school. I struggled, to have relationships with girls. There was a lot of girls that I was interested in that I just couldn't get the time of day to. I was unsuccessful at dating at all, like just in high school, in middle school, in college. Like I just could not hit a ball if it was baseball. Like I couldn't do it. I was constantly being told, "Oh, well, I think of you as the little brother," like I just really felt less than. I was always trying to achieve what I saw my friends have, and I just couldn't get it. And so throughout the years, I felt like I struggled. I married my first wife because she's the only person that really seemed to give me the solid attention that I wanted. Unfortunately, it changed very quickly, and I didn't get that anymore. And so when I left her and then Pris and I started dating, I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it never did. And we had such a great relationship. And so what I get from other women in the lifestyle, I totally get from her. It's not like I'm lacking anything from her. I get the want, I get the attention. She's my best friend. And so we're around each other all the time, and we have a connection that I could never have with anybody else. And that's because she's there on so many different levels. She's hitting it on so many different levels. And when we got together, it just seemed like everything worked out. And when we started seeing other people, I remember thinking, this is kind of fun. And I've always associated this as a kind of a fun situation. And I
Mhm.
feel like I'm enjoying I mean, now I'm cleaning up, man. I'm cleaning up.
Well, I
I
mean,
I'm
you
mopping the
you
floor with pussy, man.
you you
Bring them back, Chris. Bring them back.
remember I mean, like you said it, you saw the difference, right? So
Yeah.
I remember young Adam.
I'm just kidding, by the way.
I You gotta let him have a big head sometimes,
Oh,
you know?
I did I will say that I have had moments where I've sat back, even recently,
Yeah.
I've sat back and I've said, "It is really weird for me." I'm 42 years old, and it's weird for me to sit back and go, "Wow, the pretty girl that I was attracted to
Yeah.
and I
The
expressed that
attractive
interest into,
women are there.
they're finding me attractive and they're interested in me too. What?
You know, I've had a
What?"
similar experience, like just getting older,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I get more attention now than I ever did when
Yeah.
I was younger.
Well, you're
But
very handsome. You're very good looking.
I've always had
thank you.
You're
so, a lot of women, they liked you. like a lot of women were attracted to you.
Oh, see, I was completely oblivious. I
Yeah.
did not see any of that.
When did you come out?
I came out when I was 16, but and that was in high school, but
Uh-huh.
that was just to my parents and maybe to one person. I think that,
Okay.
that was my best girlfriend at the time.
Mhm.
But I wasn't going around saying I had a couple girlfriends in high school. We didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
I
had
remember that.
one experience with a girl in high school. I had one was a lesbian,
There you go.
very
Yeah.
obvious, so yeah, but that was that. I mean,
Yeah.
I went through the whole saying I was bi thing, but really not until I left high school and moved
Yeah.
out did I just completely embrace it. But I mean, shoot, I was gay.
Yeah.
There was no way around it.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I mean, I'm sure that especially the getting older, it's like you get comfortable in your own skin. And I think people see that because you're getting older, right? And it kind of like brings out this like sexiness vibe or something.
I think it's about confidence and about
Yeah.
just like even you guys, like the way you have conversations so easily with people, how you guys even work as a dynamic. I'm sure that's
Yeah.
very alluring. So it's also kind of looking at you guys as it's almost like a power couple in your.
We get told a lot
I
that
was
we're
gonna say, I
intimidating.
feel like, but
So whenever we're there, like saying like having sex in the clubs, right? And we do it in the middle and you do that for the exhibitionist and the voyeurism, but
Yeah.
you also it's an area where people can actually come up to you and be like, "Can I join?" Which is easy for us because sometimes I can be a little shy. Sometimes he can be a little shy. So that's the fun part. But it's also when you're there, you're like, I'm hoping somebody comes up to us because I don't want to go up to anybody,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and people will stop and be like, "You're so intimidating." Like, that's
And we've
intimidating.
been told that a lot,
And I'm like, "But you've
individually and
seen me
as a
have
couple.
sex 1,000 times."
Mm.
Like
And I just blows my mind. I'm like, intimidating. Like I can't see that at all. Like,
I think some people, it goes back to being shy.
Yeah.
I think when somebody is so carefree and so willing to express
That's where
themselves, and somebody may want it internally, they just don't know how to get to
So
that
we do
place.
get that. Yeah.
I think it goes back to
Yeah.
an insecurity.
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you all ever find yourself being teachers?
Yeah. So that's really why we started the podcast. Before that, I was considered more of a mentor to a lot of newer people that would come in.
Is that a thing?
So I guess it
It
is.
is a
I mean,
thing.
we didn't really know it was a thing.
Oh,
We just knew that there was
this
a
is
lot
not
of
a cult,
like,
right?
no,
No.
no,
Not a
no,
cult.
no, no,
Okay.
This is
no, this
not
is
a
not a
cult.
cult. It's a sex cult. No, 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 no. So it's not like
So
we
funny.
wouldn't seek out people, but we would whenever you go on these apps and couples looking for couples and that sort of thing, we would always find that new couples would gravitate towards us. And as we would talk, I was always just very open with our experiences and mistakes we've made and things that we realized how to get where we were at. And I do that just to let them know that, hey, we had to figure this shit out on our own.
Mhm.
So if you guys can avoid some of the shit that we dealt with, here you go.
Yeah.
You can have that gratis.
Because people
And
will go into this lifestyle
yeah,
with bad intentions. Like,
yeah,
man, he cheated on me. And so
we've heard them.
we're
Yeah.
going to go into this and we're going to try it out because maybe that's what he wants. And
There's people that get into it with good intentions and there's
we,
people that get into it with bad intentions.
we have friends. We have a friend who they went into this lifestyle, which you would think would be the most freeing thing for a man or for a woman, right? Who wants to kind of explore another person and ended up, they're getting a divorce.
Yeah.
A few of them are and this one's getting a divorce because he cheated on the wife. And it's
Yeah.
like, why did you
And
cheat?
it's a thing. I mean,
Why
it's
did
a
you
thing.
cheat? You had the openness to have sex with anybody you wanted to.
So
But
people get into it for the wrong reasons. They do so with the wrong intentions. And a lot of new couples, I would just try and give them our experiences in
yeah.
hopes that they would know what red flags to look for
Mhm.
and go, yeah, we should probably stay away from that. And they can better have good experiences.
Mhm.
Because if I let these people have bad experiences with others, then they're going to walk away from it. They're going to add to the vanilla world of shit talking about those
Yeah.
crazy sex crazed swingers
Mhm.
and how they ruin people's relationships and shit like that. It's like, it's not like that, It's like it's a lifestyle, but at the same time too, I'm kinda like a hippie. Like there's been this whole change in my demeanor. I used to be very kind of pissed off. I always felt like I had a chip on my shoulder, very negative way of thinking. And it's that kind of way of thinking that I felt was bringing me down. I couldn't focus on trying to get healthier. I always had bad feelings, so I was going to eat those bad feelings. It was like it all around just wasn't healthy.
Mhm.
And I said, I need to flip this switch. I'm going to force myself to be positive until it becomes a habit.
Mhm.
And I did that. And now I'm this just extremely happy, chill person. And that attitude really helps me in this lifestyle too, because I get to open my mind to all sorts of different things. And I don't feel like I have a chip on my shoulder. I don't feel like I have to fight fights with people and things like that.
Mhm.
Like I said, there's people in for some bad intentions.
So we try to not so much teachers, but we do try to like guide people if they ask questions. We're in a lot of social media platforms, so they'll ask different questions, and
Mhm.
we try
But really, this podcast started just from conversations that we
that we
had.
have.
And we would have these conversations in front of others. And, I'm very inquisitive and she has very interesting opinions. And sometimes we agree and sometimes we don't.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And people will see us have these conversations and they're like, I wish me and my husband could have those conversations the way y'all just did.
Mhm.
And she's been saying since the pandemic, we need to record our conversations
We
and
had
put it on a
everything, and we just
podcast.
didn't do it, and I was like,
I wasn't that confident.
Mhm.
It wasn't 2025.
There we
You
go.
know what I mean? So so yeah, I finally said she had been telling me for years, and I bought the stuff, and I was just like, "Dude, nobody's gonna listen to us talk about this stuff. This is ridiculous. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna do this." And so we didn't. We put it off to the side for a while. And then a friend of mine decided he was gonna start a podcast, and I'm that positive, supportive friend, and I'm like, "Fuck yes, you should do that." And I threw out some ideas and I was like, "Look, you've got it. You've got it. This is your thing. You can do this. You can
Mhm.
be a part of this community and you can really be a voice and it's good." Well, they asked me to be, I guess, their first guest. And the show went well to the point to where they said, "I would like for you to be our permanent co-host." And I was like, "Really? I don't want to do this. Like I just wanted to do the one show, but I was like, okay, fine. I'm not good at telling people no sometimes." So I was like, whatever, sure. And so I did the show. Well, then of course this one over here, she looks at me and she goes, hello. I've been telling you to do a podcast since 2020. This guy
"Oh,
asked you to come onto his show and now you're doing his show. Now you're a co-host." And I'm like, I didn't realize that. I said, fine, we'll start our show. And so I bought the equipment
Mhm.
and I did the research, and finally I said, "Look, if I sit back and I reevaluate and re-record and go, okay, I don't like this, let's do another one. I don't like this, let's do another one." I said, "We're never gonna do it." I said, "So what we're gonna do is we're gonna sit down and we're gonna press record, and I'm gonna lightly edit it, but we're gonna put it out the way it is. And if it becomes a thing, if it takes off, maybe we'll continue."
Mhm.
But I said, I'm looking for any reason to quit. And I think I've quit the show about 70 times. Our first episode dropped Thanksgiving of 2024.
Uh-huh.
And luckily for us, we have a very supportive local community that really signed on and they started listening to our podcast and the numbers started rising and people started talking and it went outside of our local community and it started spreading through the state. And the good thing about our community members is a lot of them travel. There's a lot of people that are maybe retired or retired military, or they come and go and they have an RV or whatever. And they hit up these different clubs and they're in these different communities. And before you know it, it's like, hey, you should listen to this. I think you may enjoy it. And it just kind of exploded. Now we have listeners not only nationally, but we have listeners in several different countries. And it's really, really cool to know that there are people that are, kind of enjoying what we didn't even figure local people would listen to. It's
mhm."
just us interacting, talking about our experiences, talking about what we know and what we enjoyed and what we didn't enjoy. And yeah, it's been a thing. It's kind of exploded, and we're really enjoying it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Wow. I'm just like,
Lots.
no, and sexuality is so fluid,
Yes.
Yes.
and that's what's so interesting about all these conversations. I realized as we were talking, I realized I'm also intrigued. So I am involved with two different people that happen to be married.
Oh shit!
Yes.
Right on.
And I didn't realize until we started talking, but they're married. They're both married to other men.
Oh, okay.
Right. This has been very recent. So like I'm talking maybe in the last 6 months
Jeremy,
that I've told them back.
ethical non-monogamy is the label of that.
I was holding back.
Guess what world you've got your toes in.
There you go.
Look at me now.
Look at that one podcast, and you're already in.
There we go. I'm in, right. But I think that's why I had questions, because I was like, because I found myself on the other end of that, being the other person, being like, I said, hold up, let's have a conversation, because I agree with you all completely. It's completely about communication off the bat.
Yeah.
My first insecurity was, I want to make sure you're secure in your relationships, because I'm not about to be the other person.
Right.
I'm not a homewrecker.
Yes.
Right.
And one have family, they have a child, and the other one is in a relationship, but I can tell there's something lacking. And I wanted to be very sure. And so the first one, sure enough, was feeling some kind of way. And I was like, ooh, I feel like he would like fall for me. And I'm like, he's married. You know what I mean? And this is why I was kind of asking. And the other one, solid, secure, it's easy breezy. He has an understanding. I have an understanding. But I had to catch myself a couple times to be like, he's married. That's that. That's that. That's the boundary. And it very much is about boundaries, but you really have to be in touch with yourself to be able to identify those moments and how you're feeling and check in with yourself. So no, believe it or not, this is teaching me something, because I have never been involved with somebody that was in a marriage.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to be in a relationship.
It's
another
very
thing
different
to be in a bona fide marriage. Like I said, I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's, you have to ask the questions.
And we have actually our girlfriend is in a similar situation. I mean, she's seeing us, but we've also made it clear we're not exclusive. So it's like, you can see whoever you want, you can do your own thing. And, she's gotten involved with other people and this and that. And it's just one of those things where she's like, I'm still trying to figure out things, but it's nice to know that you guys are as solid as you are, and that this isn't going to be an issue.
Yeah. And we're figuring out things, because that's new.
But it's all about the uncomfortable conversation. And if you can have it with others, if you can have it with yourself, and that's the big thing, is it's uncomfortable. Nobody likes uncomfortable conversations, but you grow from them. You know what I mean? And we've had so many of them. We have them all the time. I mean, this could potentially be an uncomfortable conversation if you did it like 5 or 6 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a different time, but it's those uncomfortable conversations. And that's why we talk so fluidly about this sort of thing. And it doesn't really bother us to have, we don't have hangups. We are both very accountable for our actions. And that's kind of our thing. I've always told her, I said, look, you can't cheat on me. One thing, if you're with somebody and there's somebody that you're interested in, and you want to just, like, it's in the heat of the moment, you want to play, do your thing, man. If I'm not around, go ahead, do your thing. I said, don't hide it, because that's an intention. You know what I mean? You're hiding something. That's a sneaky intention. That's the same as the equivalent of lying. We don't need to do that. We're out in the open. You can just tell me. I'm not going to have a bad reaction. We'll talk about it. And it's the same thing with me. If I did something that maybe she didn't like or anything like that, it's fine. We can talk about it and we'll be fine. But if I hide it, that's an intention. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, this question is for Pris. So when I know we were just talking and you equated to like performative and like being a porn star. So what do you go stereotype with that, thinking that their husband wants the fantasy of a porn star? And how did you?
I did.
How did you go about like?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're doing that because you actually enjoy it, or it was I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah. So I would sometimes, it would be so transactional that it was purely for his rocks.
Is that an expression of love, would you say?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I want to see him happy, right? But then sometimes I would get very insecure and be like, say like OnlyFans or something, right? Why are you watching that? That's not like that's porn that's not real. Like, why are you fantasizing about that? I would get really insecure about that. Have a conversation with him. We would understand. And then I would have, I don't know, moments of more not very porn starish, and it would make me feel sexy. So like now because I'm comfortable with my own skin, it's for me too. But I do think people get the idea of, oh, are you fantasizing about that? When you're insecure and you're not having those conversations, now we have those conversations during sex.
Mhm.
It's like, who are you thinking about? Or who do you want to be with? So it's hot. It's very hot for us. But yeah, no, I did when I was insecure and I didn't know how to have those conversations, I'd get very like he's just because his type is very different than my type. I love thicker ladies, but thick like me.
Mhm.
Um, I used to only gravitate to Latinas. Um, Now our girlfriend is white.
Mhm.
Um,
But she's like a white
she's
version
like
of
a white
Priscilla.
version of me.
So I basically have 2 of her. They're
Yes.
both like, "What did you sign up for?" And I'm
Yeah,
like, "I don't know.
you
This
know,
is nuts."
it's funny because I'm like, man, you're crazy, dude. But
Mm-mm.
okay,
That
whatever.
has too many.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think people sometimes think as a woman, right? We get insecure. I feel more so than men.
Mhm.
Um, that yeah. Are you fantasizing about that? It took a lot of conversation.
Well, and I remember the negative portions of it where she would be like, "Are you like, she would say it like that, "Are you fantasizing about her?" And I would answer, and I would answer honestly because we don't lie to each other. And I was always prepared for a fight afterwards. I'd be like, "Yeah,"
And
you
I would
know?
get my feelings so
And I'd be
hurt.
like, it has nothing to do with you. It's just, wow. I mean, like, I know what I have at home, and I check her out all the time. Like, I think she's the hottest woman in the world. You know what I mean? And so, to me, she's perfect in every single way for me.
Mhm.
And everybody that I see outside of her, I don't see in that way. Like, there's not somebody that I can look and go perfect in every way. No.
Mhm.
But there are certain shallow aspects of somebody that I can really enjoy and be like, yeah, I have totally thought about it. And in my mind, we've had sex a few times and it was good. you know, like, and the first few times that I was honest about it, like it was a fight,
It was, yeah.
and I remember early on when we were first dating and we were walking around in the trade center and we were openly having discussions about swinging and this and that, and I knew she was into girls and I was into girls, and so there was something that we had in common we could talk about.
Mhm.
And there was this big booty Latina right in front of us. I mean, I'm talking like J-Lo style, like she was walking in front of us. And I'm holding hands with Chris and we're walking and I said, "Hey, check it out." Like, "Damn." And she got pissed. And she didn't talk to me for the rest of that time that we were there until we got into the vehicle.
Mhm.
And I was like, "What'd I do?" And she was like, she just started expressing she got upset that I was checking out this chick in front of her. And I was like, "But wait, I thought that's what we do." Like, I
Yeah.
thought that was the idea here, and that we had that kind of freedom. But it was still so early on, and she still had a lot of insecurities about herself and a lot of the old feelings that she had from a cheating husband and this and that. And it just she wasn't
I
there
was
yet.
all time and place.
Yeah,
I'll stab you.
she wasn't there
Yeah.
yet. She's spicy, man. She's
Yeah.
spicy. She reminds me I'm still alive. She reminds me how many
But
days
yeah,
I've got left.
yeah, I mean, I'm now he can fantasize about anything he wants. I like to make those fantasies come true, so there
There
you
you
go.
go.
Yeah, yeah, and somebody told me one time, they were like, "Well, is it really a fantasy if you know that you can get it that way?" And I'm like, Yeah,
Yeah, of
I mean,
course.
I still fantasize about my wife, and I've had her every single way I can. Like, it's
You
it's
know, it's
it's
still
just the daydream, it's the moment, it's the thought, it's what you can put together in your own head, you know? And I think that there's a lot of people who they associate sex with love, like romantic love, and it's hard for them to disassociate the 2.
I think that even gets back into like transactional versus
Yeah,
intimacy. And that's a
exactly.
big, that's such a conversation in itself.
Yeah, and we've done shows on it.
Mhm.
And I think that that comes up an awful lot. For me, like I said, I can't just have sex with a stranger. I got to have some sort of intimate connection with them in order to do so.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, and but there's a lot of people that are like Chris, where it's like, okay, you're cool. You seem like a nice person. Your hands were soft when we high fived. Let's go to the back.
let's
You
do
know what I mean?
this.
Like she's all cool. You know, it's like, oh, you actually asked if it was okay to kiss me. Yeah, let's go have sex. Let's jump it up 4 or 5
If you're
notches. You know,
polite and you're nice, oh, and if you have good teeth
and teeth are big.
for
Teeth are
me,
big for her.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm down.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Very specific stuff
yeah,
she's into.
but
Yeah, so it's a whole different kind of complex.
And now I have another question.
Mm.
In you all doing this podcast, have you ever had, you said sometimes people go into this with like bad intentions. Have you
Mhm.
ever had people listen to your podcast, know you in the community, and then approach you with things that have been shared on air?
Many
What do you
times,
do with that?
many times. We've gotten approached that, "Oh, we know you so well." We also they know us so well because we're so open. There's
Well,
people
so
that just wanna have
yeah,
sex with us because we're on a podcast,
that has come up.
which
Uh,
is
we've had people
cool,
really
but
there's
weird.
people in our circle that they know us, they listen to our podcast, and sometimes we make references to situations or people or like if we know of a certain situation, we bring it up on the podcast as an example. I don't normally talk about something unless I've talked to them about it first though. And I'm like, "Hey, you know, what you're going through is really interesting and I feel like we have a lot to say about it. Would that be okay?" I said, "We won't mention any names or anything like that." Um, but yeah, we've had them I get texts a lot from people that we know in the community, where they're like, "I heard the show yesterday, and, you made reference to something that I found very interesting, that similarities," and it's like, "Oh, yeah. Well, that's what we were talking about,"
Yeah.
you know? And it's like, "Okay, cool." Like, it hasn't been negative,
Mhm.
fortunately.
Okay.
And because everything that we talk about when we do talk about it, we try to portray both sides of the coin, so to
Mhm.
speak. So whatever Chris is feeling as far as what she sees and what her opinions are, I try to play the devil's advocate
Yeah,
Mhm.
and see the other side of
yeah.
things, and
Mhm.
we try to give it everything equal treatment as much as possible because there's a lot of things to think about.
Mhm.
Every situation is not the same, you know.
Yeah. I was gonna say this is really cool. The idea of you bringing on a guest
Yeah,
is a
Yeah.
really cool idea. I was, if I can say on air, also just taking a phone call or something or getting
so
questions
we
that way. Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
do people ever
so we
write
don't
in and
True.
ask questions?
So we have the ability, and I'm glad that you brought that up because I normally sign off with that.
Yeah,
But
good job.
you know, we do have several different ways that people can contact us. We love the interaction from the community. We have had people send us emails, reach out to us on our social media and things like that. And it was hard. It was harder to maintain then because we had all the different social medias. We had Facebook, we have Instagram, we have TikTok, and Snap. And then we also have, you know, our Facebook groups that we're a part of. We have our own personal stuff that we do. Um, and so we started up a new website that basically takes our podcast, it puts it on the website. We're going to be starting up video along to be the companion to our audio. And we're going to start offering that on the website as well so that people have two ways of scoping out the podcast. And then on top of all that, you know, in that same website, they can reach out to us via message. They can actually leave us voicemails through the website. There's like a little side piece on there. It says leave us a voicemail, and you just press it, and you can be on your computer or your smartphone, whatever. And it just takes down this voicemail and it sends it to us. and we can either play it on the air, we can read it on the air if it's a story, if it's a question, whatever. We really love the interactivity with our listeners. Now we don't go live to take phone calls, but that is something that we're looking at, possibly interjecting a live streaming day once a month, something like that, early on, where people can tune in live and call in and do that whole thing. So that's in the works. But yeah, people can easily go to www.beyond-monogamy.com, and that's where they can basically find anything and all things Beyond Monogamy with Adam and Chris.
There you go.
Yeah.
This was our first guest. How did you like it?
I had a wonderful time. It
I'm
was
glad.
really wonderful being a first guest.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
If there was anybody that I could have on, I think that this is really
This was
cool because
good.
you and we had a lot of catching up to do. And I always told Chris, I was like, his reactions are golden. Like your reactions, it's one of the best reactions, I could ever have. And since I don't really, there's a lot of people that we went to school with that you wouldn't believe. I mean, they're involved in the lifestyle. And
We'll
I
have that conversation
Oh,
after
wow.
this.
and there's a lot of
High
people
school
that
reunion.
yeah, we have a lot of listeners, that from and we've been contacted by a lot of people. It's really a fascinating lifestyle because like I said, it's becoming less taboo. It's becoming more accepted. So it's really cool. So with that, I'm not going to hold you up anymore. We have a town to sightsee. So I just want to say thank you to Jeremy for joining us today. One of many guests that will be coming on this show as we go along. And all of our listeners out there, we really appreciate you guys. We love you guys. We really enjoy hearing from you. So like I said earlier, if you could go to www.beyond-monogamy.com, go in there and just shoot us a message. Let me hear your sexy voice because I'm sure you sound so fine. Just so fine. Hey, girl.
He's so funny.
Oh, so fine. Anyways, with that, we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.